Hello, students. I hope everything is well with you. It has been a wonderful time teaching and learning history with you. Let us now begin with a new topic in your 9th standard textbook entitled History of Goa. When we talk about the history of Goa, the first thought that comes to our mind is the Portuguese rule in Goa. The Portuguese came to Goa in 1510. This period in history is known as the Middle Ages. During this time, the Portuguese began the discovery of new lands, new masses, new continents, and new sea routes to the east. Portugal was one of the first countries to begin exploration of new lands. Exploration means they were in search of new places. And the reason why they were in search of new places is because they wanted to have trade with the countries of the East. To have trade means to have business. Since Portugal was very excited about the discovery of new lands, the Portuguese began their voyages to various new countries. Bartholomew Dias's discovery of the Cape of Good Hope was a turning point in the discovery of new lands. In 1498, after Bartholomew Dias, Vasco da Gama reached to Calicut in India via the Cape of Good Hope. This event was a great achievement not only to Portugal and the whole world but also to India. Vasco da Gama's arrival to Calicut led to the discovery of a new route to India, or we can say to the east. The discovery of this new route helped the Portuguese to destroy the Arab monopoly of trade in the east. The Arabs used to trade in spices, precious stones, silk cloth, cotton cloth, perfumes, ivory, and many other articles that were available in the eastern countries. Now, it was not only the Arabs who dominated the Indian Ocean, but it was also the Portuguese who took control over the Indian Ocean. When the Portuguese began coming towards India, this led to the process of Europeanization in India. After the arrival of Vasco da Gama, the Portuguese had a great dream of having a Portuguese empire in the east. For this, they sent Afonso de Albuquerque to the Indian Ocean. When Afonso de Albuquerque arrived in the Indian Ocean in the 16th century, he was invited by Timaya, the admiral of the Vijayanagar fleet. On this invitation, Afonso de Albuquerque decided to conquer the city of Goa. from the Bijapur. He later conquered Malacca and Hormuz. After the conquest of these places, the Portuguese had strategic trading centers in India, which helped them to have a supremacy. Supremacy means a control over the Indian Ocean from Diu to Bengal. In 1543, the Portuguese acquired Bardez and Salsette in Goa. These two places were acquired by the Portuguese because they gave help to Bijapur. At this time, the ruler of Bijapur was Adil Shah of Bijapur. During this time, there was a lot of trading activity happening in Goa. Around 1,000 ships would come to Goa every year, carrying goods from Portugal to Goa and from Goa to Portugal. The money that the Portuguese earned from these trading activities, they spent it to build big structures and beautify the city of Goa. This city of Goa, which is today known as Old Goa, was then the capital of the Portuguese in Goa. Thus, due to this beautification of the city of Goa, it earned the title of Golden Goa. After the Portuguese had conquered Goa, the Catholic missionaries from Europe began coming to Goa, as during those days there was a belief that the people of the place have to follow the religion of their king. Since the Portuguese king was a Catholic, the missionaries came to Goa to spread Christianity. Mass conversion became very common. Churches came up where earlier the temples stood. Towards the end of the 16th century, the Portuguese faced a lot of challenges. The trade with the East began to reduce because now the Dutch had also entered India. With the arrival of the Dutch, the Portuguese lost many of their prized possessions in Malacca, Ceylon, and others. Ceylon is today known as Sri Lanka. The emergence of the Maratha power with Shivaji and his son Sambhaji emerging as rulers was a great threat to the Portuguese in Goa. It was because of the presence of the Mughal army that Sambhaji was not able to enter Goa. The Portuguese were able to recover certain areas in the second half of the 18th century in Goa by defeating the Bhosles of Savantwadi and having other conflicts with other rulers. Soon Goa was able to extend its boundaries to include territories of Bicholim, Satari, Perne, Ponda, Sange, Kepe, and Kanakana, which came to be known as the New Conquest. On the other hand, the city of Goa, Bardez, and Salsette, which were conquered by the Portuguese initially, came to be known as the Old Conquest. Now, let us begin with the Portuguese rule from 1750 to 1850.
You are braver than you believe. stronger than you seem, smarter than you think. Hello dear students. So let's begin today's history lesson. The early modern period of history has been often described as the age of enlightenment, the age of reason. This was due to the various revolutions: the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution, and the American Revolution. And it was these events in the Western world that influenced the people of Goa, who were under the Portuguese rule, and gave them the opportunity to express themselves, which took form of various revolts. And one such revolt was the Pinto Revolt of 1787. Today, we will learn more about the Pinto Revolt of 1787. The main aim of the revolt was to overthrow the Portuguese rule. Though the Portuguese converted people to Christianity, they did not treat the native Christians equally. They were discriminated. The Catholics from Europe were treated higher than Catholics from Goa, that is, the newly converts. Now, this discrimination was felt when there was a post of bishop vacant and the Goan priests were not allowed to occupy the seat. Well, there were two priests, Father Caetano Francisco Couto and Father Jose Antonio Gonçalves. Both of them were very unhappy with the Portuguese policy of racial discrimination. But why were they unhappy? Well, the two priests possessed the necessary qualification but were denied the post of bishop. So both of them left for Portugal in 1781. They left for Portugal in order to place their problems before the concerned authorities. But in the atmosphere then prevailing in Portugal, due to the terror of Pinamenac, they did not find any solution. While in Lisbon, they came in contact with Jose Antonio Pinto's family of Candolim and Father Caetano Victorino Faria, the father of renowned Abbe Faria. I'm sure you have seen the statue in the Panjim city. So when they returned back to Goa from Portugal, they were very disappointed. But at the same time, they realized the need of the hour was to rise up in arms against the Portuguese and to free Goa from the Portuguese rule. So what happened? What did they do? They began to conspire or plan secretly on how to revolt against the Portuguese. The conspirators used to hold meetings in the palatial mansion of the Pintos at Candolim. Let's locate Candolim. Candolim is located in the Bades Taluka of Goa. So they used to hold meetings in Candolim at the Pinto House, which is today known as Palacio de Conspiração, that is, Palace of Conspiracy. So the conspirators would come together, hold meetings and discuss on how to revolt against the Portuguese. They gained support from family and friends. Also, officers from Bades and Ponda offered their help. On 10th August 1787 was set as the date of the revolt. However, the revolt never saw the light of the day. This was because on 5th August 1787, 5 days before the deadline, a clerk from the Aldona Comunidad disclosed about the plan of the conspirators. So what do you think happened to the conspirators? Well, the conspirators were severely punished. 47 conspirators were arrested, from which 17 were priests, 7 military officers, and the rest were laymen. Criminal proceedings were conducted, and on 9th December 1788, a judgment was delivered in which 3 of the priests were acquitted, while the rest, that is 14 priests, were deported to Portugal. Those priests who were deported to Portugal were imprisoned at the fortress of São Julião de Barra, where some ended their days and others were pardoned and were allowed to return to India only in the year 1807. Of the laymen, that is, the common folks, 15 were given capital punishment. Others were deported, flogged, and so on. Among one of those who got death sentence was Manuel Caetano Pinto of the Pinto family of Candulim. What was done to them? They were first tied to the tails of horses and dragged through the street of the city. Later, their hands were chopped off and then they were hanged. After death, their bodies were quartered, their heads were fixed on stakes and were displayed at public places for days together, where they were allowed to rot. What brutality! All this was an effort of the Portuguese government to strike terror in the hearts of the people of Goa, so that in future, never would they raise the banner of revolt. Thank you, students. Start each day with a grateful heart. Good day, dear students. So let's begin today's lesson. Recognize this famous Goan folk song.
Pakle mate raniaku, rani mate paklyaku, pakle mate raniaku, rani mate paklyaku, pakle mate raniaku, rani mate paklyaku, pakle mate raniaku, rani mate paklyaku.
I'm sure you have heard it and even danced to the rhythm of this song. Yes, Farar Far. Now, Farar Far is a Konkani folk song that commemorates a series of revolts led by the local rulers, that is, the Ranis of Sattari, during the early years of the Portuguese rule in Goa. The song's lines, that is, Farar Far Zatai Ranantu, Pakle Martai Ranyanku, Rane Martai Paklyanku, refers to the shots being fired in the forest between the Ranis and the Portuguese. Now, the Portuguese are called Pakle here in the song, whereas the Ranyank are the Ranis. But who were the Ranis? Ranis were feudal chieftains from Sattari who served the Bhosles of Savantwadi. Now, when the Portuguese came, they captured Goa. The Ranis accepted the citizenship of the Portuguese on the condition that the Portuguese will not interfere in their area, that is Sattari, and retain their feudal rights. However, over the course of time, the Portuguese did not keep up to their word and they started interfering. As a result, we find the Ranis revolted time and again under the leadership of various Ranis. And in today's lesson, we will learn about the different Rani revolts. Now, this struggle, which is known as the Rani Revolt, sparked off in the year 1755. Now, let's take a look at the revolt, that is the Dipachi Rani Revolt, which broke out in the year 1852. Well, let's take a look at the causes. Firstly, now in the year 1851, the Goa government imposed a tax on Mokashi, that is hereditary estate. Secondly, Hindus were under compulsion to use Western clothes, that is, pants for men and blouses for women. Thirdly, the celebration of festivals, the use of palanquins during procession, the applying of kumkum on the forehead, and the setting up of the Tulsi Vrindavan in front of the house. All of these was not allowed. Do you think the Hindus were happy with what was happening? This aroused reactions from not only Ranis of Sattari but also Hindus, particularly of the new conquest areas. Let's take a look at Sattari on the Goa map. Now, when the Portuguese paid no attention to the protest issued by the Ranis and the Desais, a revolt was raised under the leadership of Deepaji Rani on 26 January 1852. What happened next was Deepaji Rani captured the fort of Nanus, which is in Sattari. Okay, let's take a look at the fort of Nanus. Now the Portuguese tried to curb the revolt, but instead it spread to Sangay and Kepe Taluka. As the revolt became widespread throughout Goa, Deepaji Rani was continuously troubling the Portuguese. So the Portuguese accepted the terms of the Ranis, pacified them in order to put an end to the revolt. Yet another revolt broke out in the year 1869 under the leadership of Kushtoba Rani of the Sahili Rani family. Kushtoba Rani unleashed a reign of terror for 2 years. Police stations and outposts were his main target of attack. The government made plans for his arrest. However, on 13 June 1871, he was shot dead while he came out of a house. Another revolt broke out in the year 1895. Now, what were the causes? Let's take a look at the causes of this revolt. Now, due to the attitude of a military officer, Gomes da Costa and Datta Nadkarni, who tried to usurp lands other than Mokashi. Secondly, a system of cultivation was introduced in Sattari, whereby the benefits of the cultivation were enjoyed by the contractor and not the cultivator. Thirdly, a degree official law was issued wherein a platoon of about 420 soldiers were needed to proceed to Mozambique in order to end a revolt of the African tribes. Now the problem was that the Hindu soldiers were very unhappy about it because the soldiers had to cross seas and proceed to Mozambique. And crossing seas was considered as an anti-Hindu act. Therefore, some soldiers moved out of the Panjim barracks, joined hands and took help of the farmers of Sattari in a revolt which was led by Dada Rani in the year 1895 against the Portuguese. Now what they did was they attacked and seized the fort of Halarna, which is today Alarna Fort, moved to Bicholim and arrested Alfred Montero, who was in charge of that area. They then moved to Mapsa and captured the fort of Aguada. On receiving the news that Dada Rani was planning to attack Panjim, the Portuguese authorities set up walls and barricades around it. The people of Panjim were very terrified that they even moved out of Panjim to Vasco and far off to Belgaum.
Let's take a look at Alarna Fort.
The Aguada Fort. Thank you, students.